your life and the life of the people around you and the people that you love. We've talked a little bit about what healthy boundaries look like, and now I want to start to talk about some of the positive impacts of setting boundaries. And this is where I get really, really excited because a lot of the people I work with have a really hard time setting boundaries, and it's such a common issue in the family members of people who are in active addiction. Is it's hard for them to set boundaries, and there's that differentiation between loving somebody and loving them to death, right? And like I said in the last module, we start off with these great intentions of wanting to help the person they love or that we love, because we see that they're struggling in life and we see that they're going through a rough time. And our natural reaction is to want to help the person we love and to do everything that we can to help support them through their struggles. And it turns from this loving act of kindness and compassion into dysfunction and chaos. And, you know, I ask people, like, how's this working for you? Like, do you enjoy the suffering? Like, is the suffering fun for you? Because nobody enjoys living in that chaos that comes without having the boundaries. So, and most people say, well, of course I don't like where I'm at, right? It's chaotic, it's difficult, there's stress, there's fear, there's anxiety, there's sleepless nights. So but the thing is that the change isn't easy. For a lot of us, the thought of starting to set those boundaries is very scary, and change is hard. And some of those thoughts that come with the idea of setting boundaries is, how will the person react? And will they judge me? Will they stop talking to me? Will they get mad? Will there be a conflict? And sometimes it is really hard to start to set boundaries with somebody when they're used to getting their way and getting what they ask for. So that can be a hard person, or a hard thing for that person to accept, is when you start to put your foot down and set some of those boundaries. It can be very difficult to for them to start to accept that. And in the beginning, they might push those boundaries and push those limits. And I really encourage people, and I was talking a little bit about this in the last module, is that start off small. Start, if there's common things that you know that the person is likely to ask, like if you know they're going to be calling you up asking for money or a place to stay, start off small with just a simple one-liner. I'm sorry, I can't lend you money right now. I just don't have it this month. And keep it at that, right? We don't want to go into a big lecture where we're going to start tripping over our words when we get flustered, and that person starts to push back. So keeping it simple in the beginning, and you will get that pushback. You might get a little bit of conflict, but sticking to your guns and having those consequences of those boundaries. So for a boundary to be effective, you have to have that consequence. So that's very important. And when I see people really starting to work their boundaries effectively and stick to it, I start to see these big changes happening, even when it's what seems like a small boundary for them. Once they start to do it and gain that momentum, I see a really big shift in the people that I work with when it comes to boundaries, and they become this whole different person. I see their self-esteem go up. I see their confidence go up. I see them start to take control back of their life. They start to sleep better. They start to have less depression, less anxiety. There's so many benefits. And they do so much better even from a financial perspective when they don't have the drain on their finances of supporting someone in addiction. So there's all kinds of really amazing positive impacts that come with setting those boundaries. And it can be very, very difficult for people who haven't set those boundaries in the past to start to set those boundaries, because whatever age you are, you've likely haven't been setting boundaries for most of your life, if not all of your life. So those aren't patterns that are going to be changed overnight. So in the beginning, really celebrating those small steps and those small victories when you can set a boundary, and really really looking back at it, when you did try to set a boundary, did it go really well? Did it not go as well as you would have hoped? And really looking at that and breaking it down and saying, okay, it went really well in this way, I'm going to do that again. Or maybe this didn't go as well as I would have liked, so maybe I can change up the wording, I can change up my tone, I can change up my body language. Excuse me. And so just learning from those experiences, because especially in the beginning, we tend to critique ourselves. So just using that as a learning experience. And with the practice, your confidence is going to soar and start to come up so much more. And I see it's almost like when these people start setting boundaries, it's almost like a weight's lifted off their shoulders and they become lighter and happier and start to be able to engage in things that they used to like to do, but maybe they're not doing because they're so busy dedicating their lives to supporting somebody in addiction. So it's amazing when I work with people on boundaries, just how effective it is and how quickly I see people change. And I know it's such a scary thing to do in the beginning, and because you don't know what the outcome is. At least when you're not setting boundaries, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So it can be scary, but the payoffs and the positive impacts to your life and potentially the life of the person that you love can be absolutely huge. And that's really something that at the end of the day we want to work towards, is setting those effective boundaries and hopefully eventually getting them to treatment. And the big part of that too is that and this is where interventions come in as being really big, is that in most family support systems, there's that weak link. There's that one person that the addict knows that they can go to that'll cave in every time. So, and I always call it the weak link because they're the one that when the going gets tough, they're the most likely to not stick to their boundaries and not stick to their bottom line and to not deliver the consequences. So when you're looking at getting somebody to treatment and engaging some of those boundaries and some of those consequences, it's really important to have all the family on the same page, because the addict will, if they don't get what they need from one person, they'll just go to the next person in their support system. So it's really important, if that's your end goal as a family or a support system, to get that person to treatment, is to really engage as a family unit in being very clear on what your boundaries are and setting them together so that they know that if mom doesn't give me money, dad will, or grandma will, or brother or sister will. So that's why it's so much more effective if the family can do it together. So, and some of the things that I really feel about boundaries is when you're living in the chaos and in the vortex of addiction and all the chaos that goes along with that, people feel really powerless. So boundaries take you from being powerless to being empowered. It takes you from the chaos to the calm, and it takes you from feeling like your world is out of control to gaining some of that control back. And I really look at it from an empowerment approach. So especially when I'm working with people on boundaries, I'm a firm believer that I'm a guide along the way, but I really challenge people to, they have to do the work themselves. And as much as I wish I could do it for them, I can't. And I really like to take an empowerment approach with people and say, I'm giving you some strategies, I'm giving you some skills, I'm giving you some tools that, at the end of our coaching session, you can take out into the world and empower yourself. And I think that's what a lot of people who love an addict are missing, is that sense of personal power and empowerment. So that's really where I try to work with people on setting boundaries. And a lot of people, boundaries are a very personal thing. There's no two people that suffer the same way from a lack of boundaries. So really just sitting down with each individual and figuring out what's going to work for them. And there's some basic common tools that I try to teach people in setting boundaries and tweak them to their individual needs and their situation. No person is the same, no family unit is the same, no person in addiction is the same. So learning how we can develop your boundaries in a way that's going to work for you and your family. And a lot of times too, like I was saying with the weak link, is that a lot of times it's not just the lack of boundaries. It isn't just about the conflict with the addict, but conflict with the other family members, because a lot of times the other family members have no issues setting boundaries and saying, I'm not lending you money, I'm not giving you a place to stay, and then they turn on the weakest link, or the biggest enabler, whoever that person is in that family, and they're upset with that person and saying, like, why can't you set boundaries with this person? Like, what's wrong with you? And so with beginning to set these boundaries, it doesn't just improve the relationship with the addict, but also with the rest of the support system. So there's so many factors that are impacted by boundaries, and so many different aspects of the person's life. So if you want to find out more about setting boundaries, we're gonna go more into that in module 5 tomorrow. So I hope you'll all tune in tomorrow at 5 for the module on how to set effective boundaries without pushing the addict away. So that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. And if you're interested in doing some individual one-on-one work with me on boundaries, you can go to the link that I put in the description, and you can book a call with me. If you want to talk about your individual needs beforehand, we can do a call for that as well. Touch base with me on that. And also too, if you want to download the free PDF on the 12 signs that your loved one needs an intervention, I put that link in there as well. You can go to that link, you can subscribe to my email list, and you'll get your free download and a couple of great emails on setting boundaries, codependency, enabling, all that kind of stuff. So if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, input, please feel free to put your comments below the live video. I'm going to publish it after I'm done being live here. And for those of you in recovery, I wish you all the best. Keep up the good work. I know it's very difficult to be in recovery, stay in recovery. I'm proud of each and every one of you that's in recovery. If you're living in active addiction, I encourage you to reach out for the support that you